questions and analysis after 6. RNZ Pacific News, Halokatawantok, Nikorai Hoken. The New Zealand government is again calling on the West Papua Liberation Army to release the kidnapped pilot Philip Merton. Hostage in Papua. Eagle Lewis reports.
In a statement today, Foreign Minister Winston Peters strongly urged those holding Mr Merton to release him immediately without harm. Mr Peters says his continued detention serves no one's interest. The Foreign Minister says they know Mr Merton was able to contact some friends and family just before Christmas to assure them that he's alive and well. Winston Peters says he's spoken with the Merton's family recently and assured them the government was exploring all avenues to bring the pilot home.
Two of the most prominent politicians in Papua New Guinea are strongly denying any involvement in an ongoing case of multi-million-dollar fraud. Paul Paraka, who had operated his own eponymous law firm, one of the largest in PNG, was convicted late last year and jailed for his role in swindling about $46 million in government funds between 2007 and 2011. Now, Jacob Yafai, a former Deputy Secretary of Finance, who has been accused of being the person who authorized funding, has gone on the offensive. Our PNG correspondent, Scott Whiting, reports.
He's gone ahead and blamed former finance minister Prime Minister James Marape as the person who authorized the payment. He's also blamed Don Collier, former finance minister, deputy prime minister, as the other person was aware of the payments. Both men have defended themselves, saying that they have no part in the payment to Paul Paraka. They have said that they actually stopped the payment going to Paul Paraka. So in that sense, he's starting as the trial forward.
RNZ Pacific and the Fiji Times have found a Nandi man charged with allegedly concealing over a ton of methamphetamine at a property in Fiji's Western region as the proprietor of a popular Nandi kava bar and also owns a business that has imported kava to Australia. Jale Alkerea was among 13 people charged over 2 separate seizures of a total of 4.8 tons of meth last month, which Fiji police have said was imported into the country by barge and was intended for re-export abroad. Alkerea has been charged in part with concealing 1.1 tons of meth. He has not alleged any link between Alkerea's Fijian and Australian businesses and the alleged meth plot. Papua New Guinea's Chamber of Commerce and Industry has called for another state of emergency after more looting. The National newspaper reports recovered looted items had been stolen again from the Brian Bell Yard. Christina Persico reveals.
Chamber President Ian Tarotia says an ugly precedent has been set when people have tasted mob power. He says they are using this to the detriment of business houses and the majority of law-abiding city residents. National Capital District Metropolitan Superintendent Silver Secker says people have been watching and monitoring security presence around the warehouse. There were also allegations that police officers were involved in letting people go in and loot.
In world news, candidates vying to become Indonesia's next leader have clashed in a debate for the final time before voters head to the polls. The ABC's Indonesian correspondent, Bill Bertel, reports.
Two men are trying to stop former military general Prabowo Subianto from becoming Indonesia's next president, but they're running out of time. Politician Ganjar Pranowo and the former governor of Jakarta, Anies Baswedan, used the final debate of the campaign to question Prabowo's social welfare plans. The policy isn't a huge point of difference between the candidates. Prabowo Subianto has been well ahead in the polls ever since the popular outgoing president, Joko Widodo's son, joined his ticket as the vice presidential running mate. Up to 200 million voters will head to the polls on February 14.
US senators have announced a long-sought bipartisan bill that aims to combat illegal immigration at the US-Mexico border and in return unlock funding for Ukraine in its war against Russia. It's been in negotiation for months. The BBC's Paddy Maguire reports. It could be a breakthrough, but there's little certainty that this bill, worth nearly $120 billion, will even pass its first vote in Congress, which is expected mid-next week. Republicans have long been demanding money and measures to deal with security on the southern border before they'll consider granting White House calls for $60 billion for care. It seems like senators might have found a way forward, but hardline Republicans, including Donald Trump, who's campaigning hard on an anti-immigration ticket in November's elections, are likely to kick back. In sport, Dema Nassau will captain the Fiji women's football campaign at the Olympic qualifier this week. SEC Sports reported the Fijian cooler side will fare well at a special event at the Fiji Football Association camp in Ma on Sunday. Fiji faces Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, and American Samoa in Group A. Favourites New Zealand are in Group B with Tonga, Samoa, and Vanuatu. Matches begin on Wednesday. Hapoel Srilangi has become the first rugby player of Samoan descent to play for France. Srilangi went in as a replacement in the second half of France in the opening Six Nations rugby clash against Ireland in Marseille. It ended in a crushing loss, 38-17 to Ireland. The Samoan-born Srilangi played for France at the World Rugby Under-20 Championship in 2023 and played lock forward for Perpignan in the French top 14 competition. In New Zealand, a double century to Rachin Ravindra has guided New Zealand to an imposing first innings total of 475 for 7 at sea on day 2 of the first cricket test against South Africa in Mount Maunganui. Ravindra made 240, the top highest total by a New Zealand player in that test cricket. And in McCallum's 302 is the highest score by a New Zealander. That's news and sports from RNZ Pacific. There's more on our website, rnzi.com. Hello, Palava. This is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Corey Hawkins. Coming up,
I just want to be able to turn around and see that you're there and that we have cruises.
the Pacific delegation at Waitangi say they stand in solidarity with Maori. Also, former Cook Islands Deputy Prime Minister is found guilty. And later on,
all around the Pacific, our coast is our state, it's our superpower.
Miss Samoa's Moana Tracy wins the Pacific Islands. Pacific people across Aotearoa, New Zealand are engaging with Maori in new ways and uniting on how to honour the Kiriki of Waitangi and the Treaty of Waitangi. Now, considering what a new constitution would look like for the multicultural nation. Waitangi Day, held on February the 6th, is one of the most important days on the calendar for Maori. Thousands of people are gathering on Waitangi Treaty grounds, where the founding document was signed in 1840. Elisa Food reports.
The annual commemorations carry on a corridor or Taranoa that began at last month's nationwide hui, which also included Pacific leaders. Former Minister of Pacific Peoples, Alberto William Seal, and Pacific leaders of all ages are standing in solidarity with the country's indigenous people.
Valeria Gascoigne says growing up, she felt like she had three strikes against her. One for being a woman, a second for being Maori, and a fourth for being Samoan. But now she sees it as her triple threat and superpower. She told Lydia Lewis, Waitangi Day is always a time for reflection on the impact colonization had on her Samoan mother and Maori father, who was beaten in school, speaking his mother tongue.
This year's going to be really, really different. Obviously, I believe that is a very significant, Waitangi is always significant. I think more so this year, particularly with the small government and the uproar around looking at Pacific Waitangi and rewording some of the documents. And so it is really significant and really, really important, particularly for being Māori, but also being half Samoan. And so there's been, I've seen that there's been more of our Pacific community, our Pacific community, actually individually making personal stands to stand for Māori around Pacific Waitangi, which is amazing. I think it's really important that our Pacific, in fact, we both had COVID together. She was better than I did. It's amazing. You know, her generation was like a whole different type of people. You know, they mental. I don't know. They're just so different. My mum's generation, they are so strong. She's strong, emotionally strong. You know, they're so resolved. And I think from that, that's really taught us and taught me to be even more resilient and to carry on the journey.
Gascoigne is calling on the people of Timor and Nuyakiwa to stand in solidarity with Tangata Timor this Waitangi Day. The Cook Islands now former Deputy Prime Minister Robert Papaipao has been removed from Parliament. He was found guilty of 3 charges of using a document to obtain pecuniary advantage and 1 charge of conspiracy to defraud. The former National Environment Service Director Ngapuna and his wife, Diane Charlie Pula, who was the former Secretary of Infrastructure Cook Islands, were convicted on similar charges. Cook Islands News editor Rashmi Okuma speaks to Caleb Pograham about the case.
The trio were accused of taking public funds amounting to $70,000. They found between April 2019 and March 2021. Diane Charlie Pula and Napuna, they were terminated in July 2021. There was an investigation carried out by the Office of the Public Service Commissioner and the police, and to start in October. That's when the former Deputy Prime Minister Robert Papaipao was also charged for conspiracy to defraud before the other charges were labeled against him.
Well, for $70,000, that's a lot of money, obviously. How did they go about that?
So, those 3, they were allegedly they claimed things ranging from flights to hotel stays on public sales. So basically, some transactions from that I understand they believe that they had within their rights to use those funding, and if for the good of the rights, they believe that they did not do it in the intention to defraud. And since Diane Charlie Puna and Napuna were heads of ministry, they were answerable to the minister, who at the time was Robert Papaipao. For the trial and document, Papaipao, some which was aware of it. And he was accused of obviously taking advantage of some of the payments or some of the advantages that were granted by the 3 of them.
Can you think of an example, a specific example of what they did? Like maybe they did take a flight somewhere. Where did they potentially take a flight to, and why wasn't it allowed to be considered just public spending and normal spending that a Deputy Prime Minister does, or what other 2 government officials would have done?
I remember the newspaper did an article on Diane Charlie Puna sanctioning stay at a resort when she was the head of ICI. She wasn't entitled to do it, and obviously she got the approval from her minister, Papaipao. And there were other cases of allowances, paying themselves allowances or buying certain things, meals and stuff. So the range of charges that were labeled against them, 3 of them.
And Robert Papaipao, he was reinstated twice as Deputy Prime Minister, once after his initial charges before the trial, and then once again after the trial. What was the justification for this happening, and what was the public reaction to this?
So the first time he was suspended was in October 2021. That's when he was first charged. And then he was reinstated just before the election, 2022, August, where he retained his Senate seat. And then again he was suspended before his trial, which was 2023, before getting reinstated again after the trial. But basically, the government's reasoning was presumption of innocence before proven guilty. That's the reason the government provided when he was initially reinstated. The second time when he was reinstated was because of the workload given the Cook Islands hosted the Pacific Islands Forum meeting, as well as the officials meeting late last year. So given the more engagement from the party, especially the ministers, the reinstatement was again symbolized or carried out to allow.
How did it make up the current government of Cook Islands?
It's interesting because the municipal power was shut in 2021, and the election was held a year later in 2024. The Cook Islands Party, despite the chance, is still able to win the party, which is part of the 24-month parliament, and then allow to get the more independence to form a government. So by looking at this, why did not make that kind of impact? You see that people who that what the book was like looking at some basis to conviction and justice that's finally prevailed. So I guess you will have to just wait and see what you want in the upcoming by-elections bring, and determine if people want to vote what the view of the people on the ground regarding the
Some was more stuff outdoor Wincy has won the Miss Pacific Islands pageant held in Nauru over the weekend. A fan favorite among the 7 contestants to win is being celebrated across the region. Jan Haxton tuned in online to the pageant live stream.
Our new Miss Pacific Islands is Miss Summer! It was a dream come true for the 23-year-old who embodied grace, elegance, and pride for her culture as she danced across the stage to accept the crown. Moana Shaibu's victory marks the first time in the history of the prestigious pageant that a mother and daughter have both won the crown. Her mother, Mary Jane McKibben, carried the title in 1997, almost 30 years ago. Schwenke thanked her parents for their love and support on her own journey to claiming the Miss Pacific Islands crown. This has been a dream of mine since I was a young girl. So it is an honor to be here standing as a Miss Pacific Islands, and I hope to make you proud. The previous Miss Pacific Islands, Josie Nicole, congratulated Schwenke on her victory at a special closing reception yesterday. The Papua New Guinea beauty queen assured her successor that she had the love and support of her pageant sisters. I'd like to congratulate the newly Miss Pacific Islands. We're so proud of you, and we believe that you will make great things in your reign, and we will continue to support you as the sisters across the Pacific. Congratulations and well done. Deputy Prime Minister Tuala Tuvala Yosefo Bonifacio was in Nauru for the competition. He congratulated Moana Schwenke on her victory.
To the Miss Pacific Islands 2024, Moana, all the best to you. The sky's the limit, go for it.
The Honourable Bonifacio turned to the other 6 competitors, acknowledging